Let me say this clearly. Women are not attracted to noise. They are not impressed by arrogance, and they are definitely not moved by empty promises. What truly attracts a woman is energy, presence, and character. You see, attraction doesn't begin with what a man has. It begins with who he is when no one is watching. A woman can feel confidence before you speak. She can sense insecurity even when you smile, and she will always choose depth over display. So listen closely, because these are not tricks. These are qualities that make a man unforgettable. Quality 1, quiet confidence. Not loud, not needy, not desperate to prove anything. A man who knows his worth doesn't announce it. His calm speaks for him. Women are drawn to men who are comfortable in their own skin, because confidence is contagious. Quiet confidence is not something you wear, it is something you become. It walks into a room before you say a word. It doesn't rush to introduce itself. It doesn't scan faces for approval, and it doesn't adjust its posture based on who is watching. Quiet confidence is the man who knows exactly who he is, even when no one is clapping. He doesn't speak to impress. He speaks because he has something worth saying. And when he stays silent, that silence feels heavy, not empty. Think about a man sitting in a crowded cafe. Everyone around him is loud, laughing, trying to be noticed. He isn't scrolling to look busy. He isn't checking who is watching him. He sips his coffee slowly, fully present. A woman notices him not because he demanded attention, but because he hadn't. Quiet confidence doesn't beg to be seen. It allows others to discover it. And discovery is far more powerful than display. In daily life, quiet confidence shows up when a man doesn't explain himself unnecessarily. He doesn't overtalk to prove intelligence. He doesn't exaggerate his achievements. When asked what he does, he answers simply. When praised, he says thank you without shrinking or inflating. That balance, neither arrogance nor insecurity, is rare, and rarity attracts. A woman feels it instantly. She senses that this man is not trying to fill a void. He has already built something solid inside. Quiet confidence is also how a man handles pressure. When things go wrong, he doesn't panic theatrically. He pauses. He thinks. He responds. Imagine a delayed flight, an argument at work, a sudden problem. The insecure man becomes defensive or loud. The arrogant man becomes dismissive. The quietly confident man remains steady. He doesn't confuse chaos with urgency. That steadiness feels like strength, and strength without aggression feels safe. In relationships, quiet confidence is incredibly powerful. It's the man who doesn't check his phone every 2 minutes waiting for a reply, not because he doesn't care, but because his life doesn't stop for validation. He doesn't interrogate, why didn't you reply? He assumes dignity first. This creates space instead of pressure. And in that space, attraction grows naturally. Desire cannot breathe where insecurity suffocates it. Look at how a quietly confident man handles disagreement. He doesn't need to win every argument to feel powerful. He listens fully. He doesn't interrupt to dominate. He understands that strength is not volume. When he disagrees, he speaks calmly, clearly, without attacking. A woman feels respected, not challenged. She feels heard, not judged. That emotional safety is deeply attractive because it signals maturity. Quiet confidence also means being comfortable alone. A man who can sit with himself without distraction is a dangerous level of attractive. He doesn't chase company to escape his thoughts. He enjoys solitude, not because he is lonely, but because he is complete. In daily life, this looks like choosing growth over noise, discipline over drama, and depth over attention. Women are drawn to men who don't need an audience to feel alive. There is something magnetic about a man who doesn't compete unnecessarily. He doesn't compare himself to other men in the room. He doesn't feel threatened by success around him. He knows that someone else's shine doesn't dim his light. In conversations, he lets others speak. He doesn't rush to correct or dominate. That calm self-assurance says, I know my place and I'm comfortable in it. Confidence without comparison is extremely rare, and incredibly attractive. In everyday actions, quiet confidence is consistency, showing up on time, keeping promises, speaking with integrity, doing what you said you would do, even when no one is watching. A man who lives this way doesn't need to convince anyone of his worth. His behavior speaks for him. Women trust patterns more than words, and quiet confidence creates patterns that feel reliable, grounded, and real. Even in rejection, quiet confidence shines. When things don't work out, he doesn't beg, guilt trip, or become bitter. He accepts, learns, and moves forward with dignity. That reaction alone can change how someone remembers him forever, because nothing is more attractive than a man who can lose without losing himself. Quiet confidence is not about perfection. It's about self-acceptance, knowing your strengths, owning your flaws, and still standing tall. It's waking up each day and choosing growth over approval. It's understanding that you don't need to be liked by everyone to be respected by the right ones. A woman feels that energy long before she understands it intellectually. This kind of confidence cannot be faked because it is built through discipline, self-awareness, failure, and resilience. It comes from keeping promises to yourself, from walking away when something doesn't align, from choosing self-respect over temporary validation. When a man reaches this place, attraction becomes effortless. He doesn't chase attention, attention finds him. He doesn't demand admiration, admiration grows naturally. He doesn't try to be magnetic, he simply becomes solid, grounded, and unshakable. Emotional intelligence is not weakness, it is power under control. It is the ability to understand what you feel without being ruled by it, and to recognize what others feel without dismissing it. A man with emotional intelligence does not run from emotions, nor does he drown in them. He stands steady in the middle, aware, present, and grounded. That balance alone separates him from the crowd, because most people either explode or escape when emotions appear. In daily life, emotional intelligence shows up when a man pauses before reacting. Someone disrespects him at work, speaks sharply, or tries to provoke him. The emotionally immature man reacts instantly, raising his voice, defending his ego, trying to win. The emotionally intelligent man breathes, observes, and chooses his response. He understands that not every battle deserves his energy. That calm response doesn't mean he is weak, it means he is in control. And control is one of the most attractive forms of strength. In relationships, emotional intelligence is the difference between listening to reply and listening to understand. When a woman shares something that hurt her, he doesn't rush to fix it, correct it, or minimize it. He doesn't say, "You're overthinking," or "It's not a big deal." He understands that emotions don't need solutions first. They need acknowledgement. He listens fully, without interrupting, without judgment. And in that moment, she doesn't feel small or dramatic. She feels seen. Being seen creates connection deeper than any romantic gesture ever could. Emotional intelligence is also knowing when to speak and when silence is more powerful. A man who understands emotions knows that timing matters. He doesn't choose difficult conversations when emotions are heated just to prove a point. He waits until clarity replaces chaos. This patience shows maturity because he values resolution over victory. In daily life, this might look like walking away from an argument to cool down, then returning with calm words instead of sharp ones. That ability to delay reaction builds trust and respect. Look at how an emotionally intelligent man handles criticism. Instead of becoming defensive or shutting down, he listens. He filters what is useful and discards what is not. He understands that feedback is not an attack on his worth. When a woman expresses dissatisfaction, he doesn't hear, "You are not enough." He hears, "This matters to her." That shift in perception changes everything. It turns conflict into growth instead of damage. Emotional intelligence is also self-awareness. A man who knows his triggers doesn't let them control him. He recognizes when stress, jealousy, or insecurity shows up, and he takes responsibility for it instead of projecting it onto others. In daily life, this might mean saying, "I'm feeling overwhelmed, I need a moment," instead of snapping at someone who doesn't deserve it. That level of honesty is rare, and rarity is attractive. It shows courage, not weakness. In moments of disagreement, emotional intelligence keeps respect intact. He doesn't use past mistakes as weapons. He doesn't raise his voice to feel powerful. He understands that how you speak matters just as much as what you say. A woman feels emotionally safe with a man who can disagree without humiliating, express anger without cruelty, and set boundaries without aggression. Emotional safety is not created by grand promises, but by consistent emotional maturity. Emotional intelligence also shows in empathy during ordinary moments. A long day, silent frustration, tired eyes. He notices these things without being told. He asks, "Are you okay?" Not out of obligation, but out of awareness. He understands that sometimes presence is more important than advice. Sitting quietly, offering support without pressure is a powerful form of love. It communicates, "You don't have to perform or pretend with me." In leadership, emotional intelligence creates influence. People naturally follow someone who understands them. A man who can read the room, sense tension, and respond appropriately becomes someone others trust. He doesn't lead through fear or dominance, but through understanding. That same quality translates into attraction. Women are drawn to men who can handle emotions because life itself is emotional, unpredictable, and complex. Emotional intelligence is also about accountability. When he hurts someone, he doesn't justify it by saying, "That's just how I am." He reflects, apologizes sincerely, and adjusts his behavior. Not performative apologies, but real ones that show understanding of impact. That ability to take responsibility without collapsing into shame shows inner strength. It tells a woman that this man can grow, and growth is incredibly attractive. A man with emotional intelligence doesn't suppress feelings to look strong. He expresses them with clarity and control. He can say, "I care," without fear. He can say, "This hurt me," without losing dignity. That openness builds real connection, not dependency. It allows intimacy to grow without chaos. This kind of intelligence is built, not inherited. It comes from reflection, from observing patterns, from choosing awareness over ego. It is developed in everyday moments. How you respond when you're tired, how you speak when you're upset, how you listen when it's uncomfortable. And a man develops emotional intelligence. He becomes someone women don't just desire, but trust, respect, and feel deeply connected to. Purpose and direction are not about having every answer figured out. They are about knowing where you are headed, even when the road is unclear. A man with purpose wakes up with intention, not confusion. He may not control every outcome, but he controls his effort, his discipline, and his choices. That inner compass changes how he walks, how he speaks, and how he shows up in the world. People feel it immediately because direction gives off certainty, and certainty is magnetic. In daily life, purpose shows up in the way a man treats his time. He doesn't drift through hours aimlessly, scrolling, complaining, or blaming circumstances. Even on ordinary days, his actions align with something bigger than comfort. He chooses growth when distraction is easier. A woman notices this without being told. She sees a man who is building something, even if it's quiet and unseen. Purpose doesn't shout, it moves consistently. Purpose and direction also mean a man is not easily influenced by trends or opinions. He listens, but he doesn't lose himself trying to fit in. When friends waste time, mock ambition, or settle for less, he doesn't follow blindly. He respects people without borrowing their limits. In everyday moments, this might look like leaving a place early to rest, study, or work on his goals. That decision alone speaks volumes. It says, "I know where I'm going, and I'm not willing to trade it for momentary pleasure." In relationships, purpose changes everything. A man with direction doesn't make someone else the center of his life. Instead, he invites them into a life that already has structure. He doesn't expect a woman to give him meaning. He brings meaning with him. This creates attraction because it removes pressure. Love feels lighter when it is shared, not used as an escape from emptiness. Purpose also shows in how a man handles setbacks. When something fails, he doesn't collapse or quit dramatically, he adjusts. He understands that obstacles are part of the process, not signs to stop. In daily life, this could be losing a job, facing rejection, or experiencing slow progress. The man with direction doesn't ask, "Why is this happening to me?" He asks, "What is this teaching me?" That mindset turns pain into progress, and that resilience is deeply attractive. Direction gives a man boundaries. He knows what aligns with his future and what does not. He says no without guilt. He walks away from distractions without regret. This shows up in small moments, declining unnecessary drama, refusing toxic habits, choosing discipline over impulse. A woman feels secure around a man who has standards, because standards signal self-respect. Purpose also shapes how a man speaks about the future. He doesn't speak vaguely about someday or maybe. He may not have everything mapped out, but his words reflect intention. He talks about growth, learning, contribution, not fantasy, but effort. This creates trust, because direction is not about perfection, it's about consistency. In work and daily responsibilities, purpose turns routine into meaning. Even when the task is boring or difficult, he does it well, not because someone is watching, but because it aligns with who he is becoming. Excellence in small things builds confidence in big things. A man who takes his responsibilities seriously shows reliability, and reliability is one of the strongest forms of attraction. Purpose and direction also mean emotional stability. A man who knows where he is going is not easily shaken by external chaos. He doesn't jump from one emotional high to another. He understands that progress is often slow and invisible, that patience reflects maturity. In relationships, this steadiness feels grounding. It reassures without words. A man with purpose doesn't compete with others unnecessarily. He understands that comparison is a distraction from his own path. Someone else's success doesn't threaten him, it motivates him, or simply passes without disturbance. In daily life, this looks like focusing on his own growth instead of watching others. That focus creates quiet confidence, and quiet confidence attracts naturally. Purpose is also about contribution. A man with direction wants to add value to his work, his relationships, his environment. He asks, how can I improve this, rather than what can I get from this? That mindset creates respect, because people are drawn to those who build rather than consume. Direction does not mean rigidity, it means adaptability with intention. When life shifts, he adjusts his strategy without abandoning his values. He evolves without losing himself. This flexibility shows intelligence and maturity, because real purpose is not fragile. It adapts, grows, and strengthens over time. A man with purpose does not seek constant validation. He doesn't need applause for every step. His motivation comes from alignment, not attention. That internal drive is felt, not explained. It changes his posture, his voice, his energy. Women sense this before they understand it logically. Purpose is built daily through discipline, reflection, and action. It is reinforced every time a man chooses long-term growth over short-term comfort. Over time, direction becomes identity, and when a man knows who he is becoming, the world responds differently to him. Respect without conditions is the rarest form of strength. It is easy to be respectful when things are smooth, when admiration is returned, when agreement is constant. The real test appears when expectations are unmet, when emotions rise, when control slips away. A man who respects without conditions does not tie his behavior to how others behave. He understands that respect is not a reward given to earn compliance, but a standard he lives by. In daily life, this kind of respect shows up in the smallest moments. It is how he speaks to people who can do nothing for him. The waiter, the cleaner, the driver, the colleague with no influence. His tone does not change based on status. He does not become arrogant upward or dismissive downward. That consistency reveals character. Women notice this instantly, because how a man treats others is a preview of how he will treat them when comfort fades. Respect without conditions is also visible in how a man handles boundaries. When a woman says no, he does not argue, manipulate, or push. He does not take rejection personally or turn it into an ego battle. He accepts it with grace, because he understands that another person's autonomy is not a threat to his worth. This response alone separates a mature man from the rest. It shows emotional strength, not entitlement. In disagreements, unconditional respect changes the entire tone. He does not raise his voice to dominate. He does not use sarcasm, insults, or silent punishment to regain control. Even when he is upset, his language remains clean. He understands that you can express frustration without destroying dignity. In daily life, this might look like choosing words carefully during conflict, because he values the person more than winning the moment. That restraint feels powerful, not weak. Respect without conditions also means honoring time and presence. He does not cancel plans casually or show up half-engaged. When he commits, he follows through. When he listens, he is fully there. This level of respect communicates "you matter" without saying it out loud. Women feel valued when they are not treated as optional or convenient. A man who respects without conditions does not try to control outcomes. He does not attempt to shape people into versions that suit his comfort. He allows others to be themselves even when it challenges him. This acceptance creates emotional safety. In daily life, this might look like supporting a woman's ambitions without insecurity, encouraging her independence instead of fearing it. Respect that does not compete is deeply attractive. Respect also shows in privacy. He does not share personal details for entertainment or validation. He protects what is entrusted to him. This loyalty builds trust because it proves that his respect is not performative. In a world where oversharing is common, discretion becomes a powerful sign of integrity. Unconditional respect includes self-respect. A man who respects others but not himself eventually collapses into resentment. True respect means setting boundaries calmly and clearly. He does not tolerate repeated disrespect just to keep peace. He addresses issues directly, without aggression. In daily life, this could mean walking away from situations that compromise his values. This balance shows strength and maturity. Respect without conditions also appears during emotional moments. When someone is vulnerable, he does not mock, dismiss, or minimize their feelings. He understands that vulnerability is courage, not weakness. He creates space for emotions without using them as leverage. This builds deep trust because people feel safe being real around him. In relationships, respect without conditions removes fear. A woman does not feel she has to perform, please, or walk on eggshells. She knows that disagreement will not cost her dignity. This emotional security deepens attraction because respect is the foundation of lasting connection. A man who respects without conditions does not keep score. He does not remind others of favors done or sacrifices made. He gives because it aligns with who he is, not because he expects something in return. This generosity of spirit is rare, and rarity attracts. Respect also shows in how he handles endings. If something no longer works, he does not ghost, insult, or degrade. He communicates honestly without cruelty. Even in separation, his respect remains intact. That behavior leaves a lasting impression because it shows that his character does not change when convenience disappears. This kind of respect is built through self-awareness and discipline. It requires controlling ego, managing emotions, and choosing values over impulse. It is practiced daily in conversations, decisions, and reactions. Over time, respect without conditions becomes identity. And when a man lives this way, he does not have to demand respect. He naturally receives it. Consistency is not dramatic. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't seek applause. And it doesn't create instant excitement. Yet it is the quiet force that builds trust, attraction, and respect over time. Anyone can be impressive for a moment. Anyone can show effort when it is convenient. Consistency is what reveals who a man truly is when motivation fades and comfort tempts him to stop trying. In daily life, consistency shows up in the simplest habits. Waking up when the alarm rings instead of hitting snooze repeatedly, showing up on time even when no one is checking, keeping routines that move life forward instead of waiting for perfect conditions. A woman notices this without being told because consistent behavior creates predictability, and predictability creates safety. Safety is far more attractive than intensity that disappears. Consistency is how a man communicates. His words match his actions. He doesn't promise often, but when he does, he delivers. He doesn't change his tone based on mood or circumstance. One day he is kind, the next day distant, the next day attentive. This emotional unpredictability confuses and exhausts. The consistent man remains steady. His presence doesn't fluctuate with convenience. That steadiness feels grounding. In relationships, consistency matters more than grand gestures. 1,000 flowers once mean less than 100 small acts repeated. Checking in regularly, remembering details, showing care even on ordinary days. A man who is consistent doesn't disappear emotionally when life gets busy. He integrates connection into his routine, not as an obligation but as a priority. This builds trust slowly but deeply. Consistency also shows in how a man handles stress. When pressure rises, his values don't collapse. He doesn't become careless with words or actions. He understands that difficult moments reveal character more than comfortable ones. In daily life, this might look like remaining respectful during arguments, keeping discipline during exhaustion, and maintaining focus when distractions call loudly. That reliability is rare, and rarity attracts. A consistent man is not driven by mood. He understands that motivation comes and goes, but discipline remains. He shows up on low energy days the same way he does on high energy days. This mindset builds self-respect, because every time he keeps a commitment to himself, his confidence grows. Women feel this inner solidity. It creates a sense of dependability that cannot be faked. Consistency also builds emotional trust. A woman learns that his reactions are stable. He doesn't punish with silence, manipulate with affection, or withdraw to gain control. His emotional availability does not feel like a gamble. This emotional reliability allows deeper connection because trust grows when there is no fear of sudden change. In work and personal growth, consistency separates ambition from achievement. Many people talk about goals, few commit to daily action. A man who works steadily, even when progress is slow, builds something real. This discipline shows foresight and patience. Women are drawn to men who invest in the future rather than chase instant gratification. Consistency also appears in values. A man does not change his principles based on who is watching. His respect, honesty, and integrity remain the same across situations. In daily life, this could be choosing honesty even when lying is easier, choosing effort even when shortcuts exist. This alignment between values and behavior creates authenticity, and authenticity is deeply attractive. A consistent man does not create emotional chaos. He does not love intensely one week and detach the next. He does not use inconsistency as a way to create desire. Instead, he understands that real attraction grows in stability, not confusion. Calm, reliable energy feels safe, and safety allows attraction to deepen rather than burn out. Consistency also means growth is intentional. He doesn't rely on sudden bursts of inspiration. He improves a little every day. Reading, learning, refining habits. Over time, these small actions compound into transformation. This commitment to self-improvement shows long-term thinking. It signals that he is building a life, not chasing moments. A man who is consistent does not seek attention through unpredictability. He does not disappear to be missed or show up only when it benefits him. His presence is steady, his effort dependable. This creates trust because people know where they stand with him. Consistency builds reputation. Over time, others describe him as reliable, solid, dependable. These qualities may not sound exciting at first, but they are the foundation of lasting attraction. They create confidence in the future. A woman feels secure investing emotionally in a man whose behavior does not fluctuate. Consistency requires patience and discipline. It is choosing to do the right thing repeatedly, even when no one notices. It is understanding that attraction built slowly lasts longer than attraction built on intensity alone. A consistent man becomes someone others can rely on, lean on, and trust, not because he demands it, but because his actions prove it every single day. And when all of this comes together, something powerful happens. Attraction stops being something you chase and becomes something you radiate. Because the truth is, the most magnetic men are not trying to be impressive. They are trying to be aligned with who they are, what they stand for, and where they are going. When a man becomes solid within himself, the world responds differently to him. Remember this, women don't fall for words, they fall for patterns. They don't remember what you promised in a moment of emotion, they remember who you were on ordinary days. They remember how safe they felt in your presence, how steady your energy was, how your actions matched your intentions. Attraction grows where trust lives. And trust is built quietly, consistently, without drama. A man who understands this stops performing. He stops proving. He stops begging to be chosen. He chooses himself first. And the moment a man chooses himself, not selfishly but respectfully, he becomes someone others want to choose too. Because self-respect is contagious. When you value yourself, you teach the world how to value you. There is a famous truth that never gets old. Discipline will take you where motivation cannot. Confidence fades, excitement fluctuates, emotions rise and fall, but character stays. Character shows up when no one is watching. Character speaks when you remain calm under pressure. Character is felt when your presence brings peace instead of chaos, and peace is addictive in a noisy world. Understand this deeply. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. If you want respect, become respectful. If you want loyalty, become reliable. If you want depth, build depth within yourself. The outside world mirrors the inside. Change the inner standard, and the outer results will follow naturally. A man who walks with purpose, emotional intelligence, respect, and consistency doesn't need to compete. He doesn't need to rush. He doesn't need to convince. His energy does the talking long before his mouth opens. People feel it in his silence, in his patience, in the way he handles pressure. And when people feel safe, seen, and respected, attraction grows without force. Never forget this powerful line. Real power is quiet. It doesn't shout. It doesn't demand attention. It doesn't threaten to leave to be valued. It stays grounded, knowing its worth. The loudest person in the room is rarely the strongest. The strongest one is usually the calmest. Build yourself so deeply that rejection doesn't break you and approval doesn't define you. Build yourself so steadily that your presence becomes reassuring. Build yourself so honestly that you don't need to pretend. Because the goal is not to be liked by everyone. The goal is to be respected by the right ones. Life rewards the man who plays the long game, the man who shows up daily, the man who chooses growth over ego, patience over panic, values over validation. Greatness is not a moment. It is a habit practiced daily. An attraction follows greatness the way a shadow follows a body, effortlessly. One day you'll realize the shift. Conversations will feel easier. Respect will come without demand. Attention will arrive without chasing. Not because you changed your tactics, but because you changed your standards. You stopped asking, am I enough? And started living like the answer was already yes. Stand firm in who you are becoming. Let your actions speak louder than promises. Let your consistency build trust before your words build desire. Because when a man becomes stable, intentional, and self-respecting, he doesn't just attract women. He attracts opportunities, respect, and a life that reflects his inner strength.